The global financial system isn't just broken, it's running on borrowed time. What's the real issue? It's not just debt, but the lack of real collateral backing it. What if I told you that the only viable solution isn't more money printing, but Bitcoin? Stick around, because today we're breaking down powerful insights on how Bitcoin could become the foundation of the next financial era. Why it's so important to think about building a more pristine collateral, more pristine asset in order to resolve the issue around inflation, debt, and this elite that just brings nothing but problems to the various nations out there, typically run by governments and central banks. The first part is the systemic issue. What do I mean by that? Is the inverted pyramid, where we have on the top end the amount of debt that the world is in, right? It's several $1 trillion worth, and we know that the US holds $37 trillion worth of national debt. But then you need to add the over 200 other governments' national debts. Now, if you add all of that, that becomes a huge amount of debt. We are facing a small amount of equities or collateral, but it's pivoted on this humongous debt, world debt that we have. And this has been the antithesis of all of the financial crises that has brought us to present day inverted pyramid situation, right? And why that by building or transitioning this inverted pyramid, so this over debt situation or under collateralized system to more over collateralized mode, where we have the base layer of collateral as being the major layer of that pyramid and less debt. Well, what's the repercussion of that model transition? Well, you're going to be changing the actual outlook and the actual cultural habits of getting to less debt, but supported by an over collateralized system, because by doing that, you're going to be mitigating an awful lot of issues. The inverted debt versus collateral pyramid that we're in, well, there isn't much of a collateral that can absorb the next financial crisis that may be around the corner. And we move into a more over collateralized system, we can avert any future crises. So there's another advantage which I found interesting. We change the mindset of citizens around the world in terms of how they actually behave, how they consume their day-to-day assets or consumption in terms of products and services. They'll become more thoughtful and not move into the malinvestment in terms of, well, let's kind of buy the next Ferrari, or let's buy the next luxury house. And where the majority of Bitcoin is out there, particularly those that have actually invested very early on into the system and are still holding on to their Bitcoin holdings, well, they're obviously super duper millionaires. And you don't see these people, nevertheless, showing off or posturing their wealth in their day-to-day. You see them driving normal cars, they don't wear flashy clothing, and they kind of think twice about what to spend next. So there's that advantage as well. And if we can all move into that kind of new ethos, that new paradigm shift under this new over-collateralized pyramid structure, well, it's not just a win-win, but I think the world at that point would become a much more pleasant environment to live in. I think we could all agree to that, particularly when it comes to resolving this impending debt problem that the world is faced at the moment, as to the importance of adopting Bitcoin as that new pristine collateral. Because at the end of the day, I really find it difficult that we'll ever get to the point where, let's say, we're into the future 10 to 20 years from now, where Bitcoin is now fully embedded into the financial system. I don't think at that point people like to sell off their holdings in order to capture the gains. No, I think the future model at that point, we're going to be seeing more as Bitcoin as that collateral, like a securitized asset in which to hold and maybe lend out into as a future mortgage lending product, rather than securitizing your home in order to be issued a loan that you may need. Well, we securitize our Bitcoin holdings. And by doing that, you're going to be decoupling the assets that we hold as collateral rather than our homes. By decoupling Bitcoin as a collateral asset under this over collateralized system, we're going to be de risking a future global financial crisis around the corner. So I think this is the major highlight that I'd like to leave you today. And I just find it super interesting and fascinating. So
that's all I have for you for today. If you value clarity on Bitcoin, blockchain technology, and real world assets tokenization, stay alert. Subscribe and enable all notifications to stay ahead of the curve. Share this episode with those who need to understand what's coming, friends, family, and colleagues. This channel aims to deliver insight, no noise, and no hype. Subscribe now.